I started my first ring planner when I needed a system that could grow with me, and now it's one of the most flexible tools in my life. Today, we're going to talk about all things rings planners to start your very own ring planner setup. All right, so first things first, I have all the rings planners that I own here, and this is pretty much covers every size, I think. It just depends on what inserts you put inside of it. You have to choose the right size. So in terms of choosing your correct size, you have to first ask yourself some questions. Do you plan to work at home? Do you plan to use the planner on the go? Or is it for both? Or do you want to have it separately? Do you want to have it all in one binder? My best pro tip is you have to just try it out in different scenarios. There are going to be seasons where you're always home and you're planning on your desk, and there are going to be seasons where you're driving around or having to go into work and use the planner there. The second question you should ask yourself is, do you want to keep one planner, or is this gonna be a multiple planner system? For me, I always aim to go for one planner system, but it's very hard just because I have a lot of work related things in my planner, and a lot of it I need space. I need space to freely write notes, brainstorm, even a lot of space on certain days where I have a lot of meetings, through a project, and I need to jot down ideas as they go. But then there are seasons or times or days even where I don't need that much space, and I tend to gravitate towards a smaller planner. Now, the other part of it is having to do a lot of driving. So I still have younger kiddos where I have to pick them up and drop them off at places. There are times or days where I sit in my car for an hour and work on things. In that time, what do I need? So those are questions that I ask myself, and in different seasons it always changes. So don't be feeling like you have to stick to one and that's the only one. The only thing that I do want to say is whatever it is that you choose, start with one and then move into other areas of your life where you feel like you need a little bit more access to like a system. But in terms of picking a binder, choose one, stick with it, and move through the process of just trial and error as you go. Now let's look at the different sizes of planners. I will kind of show you my indications for each size planner, and let's start from the top. We have the A5 is a Louis Vuitton binder, and it's in the size GM. So I do store most of my collections in here. The reason why is because this is a larger notebook or binder. So if I have like yearly trackers, it can easily store information to where I can easily come in and see it without squinting my eyes. So if you don't have that problem because you're young, that's not a problem for you. I do have my collections in here, beauty things, invoicing certain clients, health blog, and such. So these are all collections that I keep in here. A5 is good if you need room. The reason why recently I switched on over to a half letter, I had to resize it, redesign it, and then print it out, which was kind of annoying, time consuming. I had to go into Canva to put the school information in there like that, and then resize it to cut from a letter piece of paper and then put it in. Okay, let's take one out and compare the sizes. So the half letter is half of a letter. A5 is a little bit shorter. See, it's a little bit shorter and a little bit wider. So it has that difference. It's shorter by this much and it's wider by this much. That's what the difference is there between half letter disc bound versus the A5 ring bound. Perfect for writing experience where you need to write a lot of notes, possibly even journal in here. And if you could just create your own archive system, that is just perfect. The next size over that I personally own, I don't have a B6. I do believe there's a B6 rings planner. It's not very popular size, but I know people do use the B6 size in the rings planner. In my library of rings planners, I have a personal. You can use two types of size inserts. So inserts are these things in here. The planner size itself is a personal, but the inserts can either be FCC, Franklin Covey Compact, I believe it's called, and then the actual personal size. The difference between the two, FCC is a little bit wider, and that little bit of width does give people just enough space. The length is the same. For me, I prefer the personal size in a personal rings planner just so that I can use the tabs on the side and it doesn't bother me when I plug a pen in, because what happens is you're thinking like, well, Helen, you have this much size. What happens is because it's a ring, now when you close it, do you see that? There's that. So you could imagine this is just a personal width. If you have inserts that are FCC, it would actually stick out up to the point of my tabs. So that would all be filled with paper through the cover. I like the personal size. And also there are a lot of inserts for personal size versus the FCC size. So that's the personal size. This is a very popular size. It's just big enough to where it allows you a lot of space, just small enough to where you can actually carry it on the go. Some people say this is a tiny size. Some people say it's a big size. So it really varies. Just looking at my hand, just very typical hand size, it just fits my hand, okay? So between that and the A5, there's definitely a difference. Do you see that? So there's the difference there as well, right? Side by side. Now let's get into the A6. This is my recent favorite size. If you ask me portion-wise, what does this compare to? I have to say it's like compares to an A5. Okay, so let me make sense out of that. A5 is shorter than the half letter, but it is wider than the half letter, right? So if you compare that to the personal size in terms of the length, your writing experience, in my opinion, okay, this compares to me a half letter, just bigger, right? Half letter is just bigger. But this compares to me the writing experience of an A6. A6 is wider this much. That's a good ½ inch there. You can really write in here. Like the experience that I had using an A6 was perfect. It's a happy medium, a lot of people will say. And what I want to say on top of that is that this size is just perfect on the go. You don't need to have multiple planners. If you choose A6 size, you have enough room and experience to write in it without having to squint your eyes. And then the other thing is that you do not have to have a second planner for work. I can take this on the go when I'm done working and I have to drive around with the kiddos. And I could also use it on my desk, and it's perfect because I can use my keyboard and have my planner open just like that. And it's perfect. Whereas I cannot do that with an A5. Like it's like in the way. You see how big that is? So there's that difference there as well. So A6 is an amazing size if you're looking for a one planner, one binder solution. So let's just take a look real quick at how I used it. I had daily on 2 pages. I had enough room to lay out my whole schedule and things that I need to get done that day, as well as to write notes on the second page. So it just worked out very well for me. I just didn't have enough room to jot down a ton of notes, as well as brainstorming, as well as meeting memos. I needed to move to a half letter for the time being. Then let's look at the pocket size. This pocket size is my on the go. I am using my Louis Vuitton little tiny petite, which is the same size as this, except it's very, very thin. This is pretty chunky. I take that on the go and I use it specifically for scheduling purposes right now. I don't have any other purpose than that right now, just because I try to stay on schedule and on point and on purpose hours with my hours right now. After work time, I try not to go back to work because I work from home. It's really hard for me to disconnect with work. Now, I had a season where I used the Pocket for the full thing, like my work, personal planning, everything in a Pocket planner. Is it possible? Absolutely. Did I love it? Yes, I did. Again, it's the amount of space that you require, right? So these are the kind of questions that you need to ask yourself. Is this enough room? Like if you were to work on daily on 2 pages, is this enough room for you? If you don't have a lot of daily tasks, you don't need a bigger planner than a Pocket, because the Pocket can really do its job. It really does. You can have all your collections in the back. Collections meaning like your daily journaling, your yearly trackers, your car tracker, your kiddo tracker, all of the above. You can have everything, budget, everything stored in this binder, in this Pocket binder. Now there are 2 insert sizes here as well that people use. One is a Pocket Plus and one is a Pocket. This is a Pocket size right now insert, and I'll show you the Pocket Plus size. This is a Pocket size insert that I have, and this is the Pocket. So let's compare the 2. Again, the Pocket Plus reminds me of A5 versus a half letter. So it's just a tad bit wider in the width. It's a little bit shorter in the length. It's amazing to have the Pocket when you are especially planning on using it as your all-around catch-all planner for both work and personal and everything else in between. If that's the case, I would definitely recommend to go with a Pocket Plus insert size, just because it's a little bit wider, and that little bit of width gives you so much more like real estate. I can't explain it exactly, but trust. But the Pocket insert, the reason why I switched on over to the Pocket insert is because, like I said, I'm not using this as a catch-all planner at this point in time. I am using it literally just to hold my schedules on the go. So with that being said, Pocket size is perfect, and no Pocket Plus for me, just because the tabs that I own, majority of the shops, they have a lot of options when it comes to Pocket size, but when it comes to Pocket Plus size, I did realize I had very few shops that I could shop from. And certainly you can use your own tabs. Like, you really don't need to shop for all the accessories. Let's go into the planner content itself, meaning the inserts, what goes in here. I love chunky planners, you guys. I love holding a chunky planner. It is my personal favorite. There's just some magic to it. Here are some of the things that you can look into when setting up your planner for the first time are dashboards. Dashboards are anything that you can create yourself. You could clip a magazine clipping and laminate it. I've seen a lot of people do that. I designed this on Canva. This is a Bible verse that I really enjoy, and cut it to size. And then I just plug some holes in, and there it is. So it became that. Cloth and Paper and so many other shops like Infinite Lotus and so many other beautiful shops that you could purchase from. I have a few dashboards that are obviously digital. I don't sell tangible products just yet. The other thing is the dividers. So these dividers, I like the Infinite Lotus kind just because they're so thin. And what I do is I usually just cut where the holes are. I just slit some holes there, and I use it like this. So like for daily, I could flip to the daily right away. And then if it's the next day, as I'm planning the next day, I'll just move it over to the next day. So it just makes it kind of like that disc bound experience without the disc bound. I think it's just a very smart way that people came up with. And there are the calendars. So these are what I want to call essentials, okay? In a planner system, I believe that everyone should have a monthly in their planning system, in their binder. And for me, the monthlies carry all my future plans, my travel, my future meetings, anything and everything that comes up throughout the year. I just pop it in here. and forget about it because it's there, right? And I will get to it when it comes to that month. So that's a monthly. Then the second essential that I highly, highly recommend is a weekly. There are so many different types of weeklies, but in my scenario, I was using this heavily and I loved it. It typically has the weekly where you can schedule things and also write down some tasks, day specific tasks, as well as general inbox or list area, possibly a place for meal planning if you do that, or a workout plan, and then a habit tracker. For me, habit tracker is a must, just because it helps me to kind of navigate when I forget to take my vitamins, or, hey, did I schedule my yoga? Cook today. Okay, you know what? I don't feel like cooking after work today, but since I'm on a roll, like, I want to keep going. That keeps me on point there. The next one that I highly recommend as an essential is the daily. Whether it's dated or undated, it doesn't really matter. Whether it's on one page or 2 pages, it's really a preference and how space you need in a day and how many tasks you have in a day or how many schedules you have in a day. But for me, I typically tend to go towards the 2-page dailies. And so I love to have my schedule there. I love to know what my priorities are. For example, if I got nothing else done today because something came up, what are those couple of things that I could get done and I can actually sleep at night and feel like, okay, I did something today, versus all the inbox and all the rest of the stuff that comes up throughout the day, or just a little bit less important things, right? Less important than the priorities, obviously. And I always appreciate the schedule section, even though I have the weekly here and most likely I have my schedules written down here. I like it at a glance, but on the day of, I like to plan early morning. Like as I sit down to plan and start working, I like to know my schedule here on the daily so that I don't have to flip back and forth. And I think again, it's a preference, because for me, this busies my eyes. So this is an empty sheet, but let's show you like a busy one, an actual like filled out one. So a little less busy. Yeah, like this one, for example. I have all my schedules there and I don't want to look through the whole week. I just want to look at today. So then I would copy from here on over to whatever that schedule is for the day, include any meetings along the way so that I don't have to flip around pages when I am sitting at my work desk and trying to get things done. It's all here. All I have to do is open this page and I'm ready to go. I always like some extra space on the second page so that I could break down some of the bigger tasks or projects throughout the day. And oftentimes I'm a visual person. I'm a very visual person. So I like to draw mind mapping of how this is gonna work. I use this page quite a bit, whether it's filled out already for you and structured, or it's like this, just a gridded page. I appreciate that second page for that matter. Then let's go into a to-do and just a general list page. This is part of a collections, or a lot of people call it inbox. For instance, for me, I have it up here as an inbox. And so these are the categories that it could be. I would just jot it down, and as I go through this page regularly, like once a week, I would see if this, whatever I wrote down, is to go into the calendar, or it becomes a task, or a link that I need to check out, something I want to buy possibly in the future, something that I ordered I'm just waiting on, or it's an idea, like maybe like get into a task, something to think about. So it helps me to kind of put things on paper while I'm working on a task. Something might come up real quick and I would just jot it down here and I will deal with it later. So therefore it doesn't get lost. Then there's a goals section. I typically have my goals stored like this. So I would have like a different section of my life and I would pop in all the goals for the month. And I take what I can from there. I pick it up on each week, each month, or each day. I have a monthly list inbox of goals, and then I would take it into my weekly here, into the daily pickup from the week what I can pick up for the day. The other thing is a finance tracker. Obviously, we can't forget about money because money is very essential in our lives. So I do have a financial section here as well. I have a budget sheet, and basically it stores all my budget on a yearly level all the way down to monthly level and weekly level and daily level. What I mean by that is it really depends on how you budget. If you budget online, or if you're budgeting on an app or some type of a Google Sheets or something like this, you probably don't need to do too much in your finance section. But for me, I use a hybrid system. So I do have my finances and everything stored on my computer, but I do have sheets on a normal basis to crack down what I need to do during the month. For instance, every month I like to go over subscriptions, or at least a quarterly, get rid of the subscriptions that I don't need anymore, or cancel services that we no longer need. So I like to go through and kind of audit our finances regularly, whether it be monthly or quarterly. So in order to do that, you need to have things written down. So that's what this finance section would do. Also, a lot of people use it for spending tracking, expense tracking, bill tracking, credit card tracking, which I also do as well. So there's that as well. So that's the finance section that you're gonna need. And the other things, meal planning inserts, or like cleaning, schedule, routines, that kind of thing, which I don't do that here. I just kind of have my own way of doing things in terms of those. I do the meal plan though, and the weekly. So the supplies that you'll need, obviously you're gonna need a ring planner cover. The ring cover, you pick the size that you want, that you desire to try out. If you're not sure still, I would definitely go for an A6 or a personal. Just because A6, like I said, is a happy medium, you could really choose this as a one planner, or you can choose it as multiple, like on the go version. But this is a good size to start, and so many different cover companies have this size, the A6 size, so definitely go for that. Now, if you want to get a little bit more budget-friendly planner cover, I definitely recommend Moterm or Filofax. Filofax is amazing. It's on Amazon everywhere. Moterm, I believe, is on Amazon as well. I have a couple of those. Personal size is typically what is available with Filofax. They have A5 and personal. So my very first personal rings was from Filofax. I see them on sale all the time. They do have inserts that come with them as well. So that's another plus bonus there. The second thing that you're gonna need are inserts, right? So we talked about all the inserts that you could possibly think of. You just have to choose between, do you want it dated? Do you want it undated? Do you want it as a printable, like a digital product that you buy online and you print out, hole punch and cut yourself? If you don't want to do all the labor, then do you want it pre-made and shipped to your door, right? So you need to kind of make those kind of decisions, but you have all kinds of possibilities there. And then the dividers. So we talked about the dividers, right? The divider is where a lot of people wonder, like, how do other people set it up? I myself as well. But what I want to say is, in the beginning, when you're starting off, don't worry about the divider so much, because the last thing you want to do is start purchasing everything and having everything come in and you end up not even needing it, or the wording is off, like you don't really need that section in your binder. So what I suggest is just taking a sticky note. You could get things like this at Office Depot or Amazon or even a dollar store, and just using these as a tab divider while you're trying to figure out your own system, like what system works for you, right? What inserts do you need in here? So until you understand what you need in your binder, just use these sticky tabs. And that's how I started, because I really didn't want to over order like and have all these things in my stash that I don't need. So I've had these tabs for a long time and they still work for me if I want to go right back into my personal. And optional, you guys, again, the dashboards, right? These are easily, like, you can make these at home. You can easily cut up magazines or even like books or anything that you really like, and you can make it into a dashboard. Sticky notes. I use a ton of sticky notes. If you can see, like, sticky notes. And I usually have them all kind of stored, yeah, like this. So I use a ton of these because when you're in a smaller planner, or even if you're in an A5 or half letter size, sticky notes are cool because you could write something temporarily there and then you could just rip it off and throw it away. So sticky notes, page flags. So these page flags, I call them sticky tabs, but they're actually called page flags, you guys. So page flags are always cool to have, just because even if when you're set up with all the tab dividers, sometimes, most times, I still do use these page flags. I like to flip into that page right away without flipping through every single page in my section. And then pens of choice. My favorite pen recently is this thing. So I have it in like almost every notebook, but it is something that I purchased on Amazon. Pentel Energel BL437R1. It had good reviews and I love it. It's 0.07, so it's a little bit thicker, juicier, and it's like dark. You could see it visibly. I used to use 0.38, but as I got older, I think my eyesight is choosing the darker, the thicker, medium fine type pens. This is great because you want to find pens where you could freely write without worrying about smearing everywhere on paper, as well as you could highlight over your writing. I really appreciate being able to highlight without worrying about it making a mess in my planner. End up like correcting it using the correction pens. So, which by the way, brings me up to point with the correction pens. This is my favorite, absolute favorite, and I will reorder this when I run out. It's the Tombow hybrid style mono correction tape. I've tried so many different correction tapes, but this is by far the best. It has the best tip here. So if you're looking for a good correction tape, there you go. And if you are wanting to go towards the digital prints where you purchase the digital file, a DIY style, which I love to do, obviously all of these are DIY, then you would appreciate having a hole puncher of some sort. So if you look at Rings hole puncher on Amazon, you'll find a ton. You could go to Staples, you could go to any Office Depot, office stores, and you can purchase those. They're called 6-ring hole puncher. I don't have a specific brand because I haven't seen like the best 6-hole puncher, so I can't really recommend something, although I do use one of them, which I had to replace like 3 times. So again, I don't want to like share with you a brand. And then the other thing is obviously a cutter. A cutter that I recently purchased, which I kind of doubted in the beginning and I quickly fell in love with, let me show you, is this one. This is called Furbin. I think they have a ton of these on Amazon if you are an Amazon shopper. But this is really amazing because you have this little, do you see that little knob right there? You just basically line up where to cut the paper. Whatever digital print you purchase, you'll always have like a cutting line of some sort from the shop, and you just line it up from there to here and it just cuts perfectly. So I do love this. It just took me a minute to understand that. And then since we're talking about this, well, let's talk about the hole puncher again. It is the one that I have currently right now is called Perfect 6 Bira. Again, I don't recommend it. The lines are not perfect, and as you can see, like the stuff falls out all over the place, it makes a mess all the time on my desk. So yeah, don't recommend this one, but here it is. It works for me in some way. So that is about it. I have cleaned up this confetti situation over here on my desk. That is what I got today. If you still have any questions, let me know. I can make a part 2 video about it, but I did have a question from one of our subscribers here on the channel about getting started with a Rings planner setup and just where to get started. And I think these are some of the pointers that I wanted to share with you. Just thinking back on when I first started using the system and setting up my Rings planner, those were kind of the things that I had to go through and asking myself. And just a lot of it is trial and error, you guys. There's no perfect system. I mean, even now, after years of using any kind of planning system, I'm still doing trial and error. That's why my shop is called Productive Lab, because I'm just continually like doing my research, learning from people that are planning and learning from myself, my own behaviors, and also hopping through seasons, how things change, the way I plan, needing to plan changes. So there's all of that. So there's no perfect system, make it imperfect and just get going. If you still have any questions, let me know in the comments down below, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.